The moment he opened his eyes, Lang Yifeng recalled how Li Lingchuan betrayed him and a sliver of hatred flashed past his eyes. But he quickly recalled his current predicament and concealed his own emotions as he spoke brokenly. Li Moying, he left. Li Lingchuan replied in a hushed voice, Li Moying has already fallen down the cliff, and it's all thanks to my third junior sister. Our initial motive has finally been fulfilled. Lang Yifeng finally gave a smile. Although their boats almost flipped in a narrow alley and all of them almost died in Li Moying's hands, but they had not expected that in the end, they actually reverted back to the same route and Li Moying actually really fell down. Even though he was heavily injured, but as long as he could get Li Moying killed, it was considered a success. That's great. Master Li, I have a medicinal bottle in my pocket, help me, take it out. Lang Yifeng actually brought along his medicinal pills, but a pity that he was injured so badly that he couldn't even move a finger. So even if he had medicinal pills, he had no way to eat it, so he could only plead with Li Lingchuan for help. However, Li Lingchuan didn't head over to help him. Lang Yifeng waited for a moment, and when he didn't get a response, he frowned and urged, Li. Master Li. Why are you? Li Lingchuan suddenly laughed and suppressed his voice, as he spoke in an extremely gentle voice, Master Lang, I forgot to tell you earlier that it wasn't only Li Moying who fell down the cliff. Earlier, it was Bai Ruoli who fell down first, hence Li Moying jumped down after her. So your sweetheart had also become a dead person. WH. What? Lang Yifeng was stuck deeply as his eyes opened wide in disbelief. He came over just for Li Huangyueli, and if she died just like that, then why did he brave through fire and water, even going up against Li Moying, causing himself to be seriously injured for? Just as he was in a state of extreme astonishment, Li Lingchuan started to speak again. So your plan had failed completely. So even if you lived, you're not able to get that young lass. It's really such a pity. Since that's the case, just treat that your plan has failed completely. Originally, you almost died under Li Moying's sword, wasn't it? Then why don't you just treat yourself as really dead then? Lang Yifeng's heart started throbbing violently, as a bitter coldness arose from his spine. He instantly understood what Li Lingchuan was trying to do. However, it was all too late. The dagger in Li Lingchuan's hands dropped out, and in a moment, it already landed on his heart. Although Lang Yifeng's ability was very strong, but right now, his protective profound chi had been dispersed by Li Moying entirely and his meridians were completely shattered, totally with no resistance power of any kind. He struggled a few times, but that didn't change anything at all. Soon the whites of his eyeballs rolled over and he completely became a dead corpse. Li Lingchuan then kept his dagger and wiped off all the blood traces as a smile of ridicule appeared on his lips. When Lang Yifeng opened his eyes, that vengeful sight was noticed by him earlier. His running away at the very last minute and betrayal of Lang Yifeng was evident that the two of them could no longer be friends. Moreover, Lang Yifeng cooperated with him today because of Li Moying's fiancée. Now that the young lass was dead, Lang Yifeng gained nothing at all and suffered such huge losses. There was a possibility that he would fly into a rage out of humiliation and betray himself to exact revenge. Li Lingchuan knew this deep in his heart, and when he saw Lang Yifeng on his last breath, evil intent immediately arose in his heart. You can also listen on. Now he only needed to wave his dagger lightly and he would be able to end Lang Yifeng's life. Moreover, no one would ever find out that he was killed by him, Li Lingchuan. Even Murong Fei was currently unconscious. When Murong Fei had hurried over, she witnessed Li Moying and Lang Yifeng's fight, hence she definitely would not doubt the truth over Lang Yifeng's death. Killing Lang Yifeng now was an easy feat with no repercussions, hence he didn't need to worry about his own self betraying himself. Furthermore, the scapegoat to take on this murder could be pushed perfectly onto Li Moying. Adding on, a disciple like Lang Yifeng who came from a large family would probably have a lot of valuable treasures in his realm ring. As soon as he died, he would be able to lay his hands onto these. This was a huge fortune which Li Lingchuan could never hope to get in his entire life. The thoughts in Li Lingchuan's mind flashed past quickly, and just within a few seconds, he already decided to kill him. What's more, he quickly carried out the ideas which he had in mind. After Lang Yifeng died, Li Lingchuan searched his body and his realm ring for all his treasures, before he woke Murong Fei up. Murong Fei caused Li Moying to jump down the cliff and had been death with a huge blow as the setback led to a total collapse, totally unable to think properly as per normal. After being terrorized by Li Lingchuan for some time, she got worried that Murongda would pin Li Moying's death onto her, hence she immediately agreed to perjury for Li Lingchuan. The two of them spent 10 days in seclusion to recuperate and finally managed to recover around 20 to 30% of their profound energy and directly raced towards the gathering point. They had actually arrived very early, but they were afraid of Luo Jiyun noticing them, hence they kept hiding in the darkness. The minute the entrance of the mystic region was about to close, they finally appeared from a dark corner and left the mystic region. Originally, Li Lingchuan had prepared plenty of excuses, prepared to debate with Luo Jiyun. In the end, Luo Jiyun decided to stay in the mystic region to search for Li Moying and was simply a help from heaven for them. This made Li Lingchuan extremely ecstatic. Although the other Celestial Light sect disciples had heard Luo Jiyun spoke out the truth, that was only on Luo Jiyun's part. No one else were the main parties involved, so they couldn't guarantee that what Luo Jiyun said was the truth and Li Lingchuan's was false. Moreover speaking, even if Luo Jiyun's version was the truth, so what about it? Li Moying was already dead and Li Lingchuan's ability in the entire Celestial Light sect was second to none, far surpassing the other same generation disciples, so the position of future young sect master would naturally belong to him. If the other disciples wanted to continue mingling around, who would dare to offend Li Lingchuan who wielded power over a dead man? Murongda had totally not expected Li Lingchuan to be the mastermind who came out with so many schemes. After he questioned Murong Fei, he believed what Li Lingchuan said. You! How could you tell the entire matter out in such a matter? Haven't you taken a good look at Sect Master Chui's expression? I'm afraid that from now onwards, the Green Cloud sect and us will totally become enemies. Li Lingchuan said, but the truth is that, moreover speaking, Sect Master Chui apparently wanted to find out what was going on, so it wasn't that easy to botch the facts. Anyway, eldest senior brother is all ready. Green Cloud sect would be unable to find someone to seek revenge on, right? Sigh, Green Cloud sect would not come bother us, but Ling family might not necessarily be so. Ling family's power was on a different level from Celestial Light sect. They could extinguish Celestial Light sect with a mere gesture of waving their hand so naturally they wouldn't have those kinds of worries which Green Cloud sect had. Murongda's face was filled with sorrow as he felt extremely melancholic. Li Moying really died like that. He even left such a huge trouble for Celestial Light sect. You can also listen on. But now that things have already happened, there's no point in getting frustrated over it. The only thing worth getting happy over was that Li Lingchuan and Murong Fei had managed to return alive. Both of them were 8th grade talents, and if it wasn't for Li Moying, their fame would definitely have spread throughout the entire South Sky region. Thinking of this, Murongda's heart got slightly at ease as his gaze towards Li Lingchuan became extremely amiable. Right, Celestial Light sect wasn't totally finished. Lingchuan, your master is feeling frustrated, so I'll be heading back to the sect first. I'll leave the aftermath here for you to handle. Murongda gave a long sigh, and after he gave out his instructions, he led the few elders and left the scene. When Li Lingchuan heard that, he shook violently as an indescribable joy arose in his heart. He was so happy that he had even forgotten about the injuries on him. He had waited just too long for these words from Murongda. Letting him represent the sect master to administer matters, wasn't it the foreboding signs of promoting him to become the new young sect master? Li Moying, indeed, died a good death. After he died, everything now belonged to him, Li Lingchuan. Cloudy Chilan Mystic Region. Huang Yueli and Li Moying had unknowingly stayed for 10 over days in the central region. Their cultivations had risen significantly in such a short span of time, and Huang Yueli was already at 5th stage realm 5th level, whereas Li Moying had reached 7th stage realm 9th level. He was just one step away from the 8th stage realm. But Li Moying's profound energy kept on increasing right until he reached 7th stage realm peak and then suddenly stopped right there. In order to aid Li Moying breakthrough, the two of them increased their speed of massacring the magical beasts, and they practically spent all their time searching for magical beasts daily. As long as they met with one, they would kill it and absolutely not let it slip away. But not knowing why, no matter how many magical beasts they killed, Li Moying's cultivation just wouldn't increase. 8th stage realm's doorstep was right in front of him, but no matter how he tried, he wasn't able to step over it. Heavens, why is it like this? You really don't get any feeling that you're about to advance. Huang Yueli was despondent as she blinked her large eyes while staring at Li Moying. Li Moying shook his head at her while feeling funny. Nope, really no signs of advancement at all, but why is it that you're even more impatient than me? Huang Yueli heard that and rolled her eyes at him. I'm worried about you. Forget it if you don't feel grateful at all. Don't. I appreciate it, why won't it? Li Moying hurriedly pulled her from behind, pulling her into his embrace as he said in a deep voice, but there's no other way out even if I'm feeling anxious. There is definitely something which we hadn't thought of. Perhaps the promotion of the cultivation of this refinement is limited. Huang Yueli frowned. How could this be possible? According to Sage Wu Ding's manuscript, when he shut himself into closed-door cultivation, his cultivation was already at 9th stage realm peak. Even so, he was still able to find a chance for breakthrough in the refinement grounds. Whereas for you, you're not even at 8th stage realm yet, so how could you possibly meet with a restriction? Li Moying replied, what you said seems reasonable. What do you mean by seems? It's very reasonable, all right. Huang Yueli bit her lips as she frowned and thought for a moment. Suddenly her eyes lit up. Right, now I remember. Recently we had been searching on the outer boundary for magical beasts and had not stepped into the core region. You definitely need to penetrate deep inwards before you'd get the chance to break through. She turned back and grabbed Li Moying's lapel as she cried out excitedly, what are you still waiting for? Let's change our direction. You can also listen on. Huang Yueli had always been action-packed, and the minute she finished her words, she prepared to set off immediately. Whoever knew that the man behind her didn't move an inch as his muscular and powerful arm was locked tightly on her waist, not allowing her to leave. Huang Yueli turned back her head in astonishment and saw Li Moying gazing deeply at her. You, what's wrong with you? Li Moying opened his mouth calmly. The magical beasts are already 7th tier, and if we head deeper in any further, the magical beasts tier would definitely be much higher. It's too dangerous. Huang Yueli quipped curiously, that's of course. Exactly, because those magical beasts tiers are much higher, which is why they will be able to give you more profound energy. Although it's dangerous, but in order to boost your ability, it's worth it to take this risk. You aren't someone who is afraid of the slightest thing usually, why? Her words came out halfway and she suddenly understood what was going on. You knew long ago that you need to head in deeper into the refinement grounds before you can advance, right? Is it because my ability is too weak hence I'm dragging you down so you're not willing to enter? When Li Moying heard these words, his sharp brows creased together as the arm which locked onto her grew tighter as he lowered his head unpleasantly while blowing air into her ear. Since when have you dragged me down? If it wasn't for you, I had been heavily injured on several occasions when I accidentally trodden into the mechanisms which the Cloudy Chelan clan's seniors set up. But what? Li Moying suddenly leaned in close to her face as his scorching warm breath blasted against her delicate face. Huang Yueli suddenly saw the magnified face in front of her, and her face let her down and flushed a shade of red. Her large eyes blinked. Li Moying gave a light laugh. Be obedient, Lear, you have to trust me. Saying that, he closed his eyes slightly as he leaned in closer to Huang Yueli. Just as their lips were about to stick to each other, Huang Yueli suddenly regained his senses as she shoved his face to one side. You, stop thinking of using the handsome male scheme. I'm telling you, I won't fall for it. Huang Yueli raised her chin as she cried out unconvincingly. Heaven knew that she almost got hooked earlier, forgetting the important matter. This man was simply too scheming. She bit her lip and emphasized, "You're acting like that because I've set out your inner thoughts, so you're trying to divert the topic, eh? No way, you can't go on like this. The magical beasts on the outer region area already almost all killed by us, so you can't continue wasting time like this." Li Moying was seen through by her as he could only helplessly shook his head. Then what do you want to do? I know your potential far surpasses an ordinary 5th stage realm practitioner, and you are even able to fight with a 7th-tiered magical beast. But there's a what if for everything. What if something happened to you? Have you considered how worried I am? His vision filled with condemnation fell onto Huang Yueli. Huang Yueli started feeling a sense of guilt from his gaze. But after a moment later, she suddenly recalled something as she said, "Even if you're worried about me, we still need to enter the refinement grounds inner region. If we continue staying in the outer region, your ability will not be able to ascend, then how will we leave this ghastly place? So evidently, in order to pass through the refinement successfully, you must go into the inner region of the refinement grounds eventually. There's no meaning in dragging on time like now." Li Moying uncontrollably frowned. Of course he knew that what Huang Yueli said was right. But the problem now was, Huang Yueli's weaker cultivation wasn't the only problem, she was also a practitioner from the sacred phoenix race. You can also listen on. As a member of the family feud clan of Cloudy Chelan clan, Huang Yueli's suppression of her ability in the Cloudy Chelan mystic region would probably only allow her to display around 70% of her total battle power. In such a dangerous place like the valley, her cultivation was also one of the weaker one. Even if she tried her utmost best, she might not be able to guarantee her own safety, moreover when her battle power had been suppressed. Furthermore, he was worried that if this refinement grounds repelled people from the sacred phoenix race, would Huang Yueli be hurt because of this? In this way, how could Li Moying possibly rest his mind and go ahead with his experience learning? As a man who loved his wife more than his own life, Li Moying felt that his own ability's advancement as compared to his fiancée's safety, it really wasn't important at all. Huang Yueli looked at his expression and knew what he was thinking of. Her mind turned quickly and a light bulb lit up as she suddenly cried out, "I've got it. How about this, leave your little Chelan to me. It is a genuine thunder-attributed spiritual beast, so although it's still young, but the spiritual beast all coming from it is still there. It should have some deterrent force against those thunder-attributed high-tiered magical beasts." Li Moying's eyes lit up. "You're right, how come I didn't think of it? Perhaps it's because you haven't contracted a magical beast for a very long time." Li Moying smiled. "I'll let it out right now. But its age is still very tender and still in an infancy stage, so its ability is limited, so don't you bully it." Huang Yueli's lips pursed in unhappiness as she gave him a stare upon hearing his words. "What do you mean by that? Since when had I ever bullied it? I've always been the gentle, lovable and amiable mistress, all right." Li Moying shook his head wordlessly as he recalled the last time of little Chelan's terrible state when it was molested by her throughout its entire body, as he couldn't help but shed a sympathy tear for this little thing. But, no matter how pitiful this little thing was, the mistress of the house had her own commands, so as the number one future wife cheaties, he could only betray it to please his fiancée. Very soon, little Cheelin was summoned out. Its character was lively and sticky, so when it saw Li Moying, it immediately pounced over and leaned towards his neck as it kept rubbing against him. It really liked this handsome and suave master. It felt that he was more handsome than the previous old man master by 1 to 10,000 times. Li Moying was rubbing the little thing's spine, apparently adoring it very much, totally not sensing that he had been taken advantage of by an immature spiritual beast. The man and beast were acting intimately when little Cheelin suddenly felt a chill running down its spine. Following that, it sensed someone lifting it up and brought to an embrace. Oh, exactly this little thing. It seemed to have grown slightly larger a little than the last time we saw it. Its profound energy fluctuations also seemed to have grown stronger. Come, let sister check if you're grown fatter. Huang Yueli's sneaky hand stretched out towards little Cheelin's tummy as she pressed on it to rub it. Little Cheelin was almost about to cry out. Mamma mia, really so hateful, so horrifying. It was actually ravaged by a little Lolita from the sacred phoenix race. What was most scary of it all was that its master had no intention of saving it. Not bad, this little thing indeed has a powerful kind of presence. Even though it hasn't grown up fully, but ancient spiritual beasts indeed live up to their name. Li Moying continued speaking, later when we enter the inner region of the refinement grounds, you definitely have to bring this little thing along. Ordinary magical beasts would not dare to approach you. You can also listen on. Huang Yueli nodded her head obediently, expression that she would listen to him. Li Moying then let her go as he held her little hand and headed towards the inner region of the refinement grounds. A month later. The duo had already headed several miles towards the core region of the refinement grounds. As what they had initially expected, every time they advanced towards the core region, the power of the magical beasts which they met would increase in strength. This power was strong, and not only was it expressed in the great and profound energy, it was also reflected on the magical beast's attack power, defense and speed. Luckily, Huang Yueli had little Cheelin in her arms, and it had an intimidating effect on most magical beasts. A large portion of the magical beast, when they caught a whiff of little Cheelin's presence, they would automatically stop far away or even turn around and ran off. A few of them even prowled down far away, showing their respect to little Cheelin. But Li Moying entering the refinement grounds inner region was to increase his ability, so this scene wasn't something which he wanted to see. Hence he could only pull a distance away from Huang Yueli as he charged into the depths of the valley. Huang Yueli carried little Cheelin as she set off on a steady pace, following behind him while occasionally striking out those star-struck magical beasts, absorbing the profound energy from their body or stopping to collect those ores or medicinal herbs along the roadside casually. Seeing its own master walking further and further away, as though he was about to disappear into the wilderness, little Cheelin was extremely anxious. Help! Master, you can't abandon me like this. Couldn't you see this fiendish female demon about to deal a heavy move on your baby here? Little Cheelin tried its best to wave its little claws, trying to struggle free from Huang Yueli's arms, as it didn't mind exhausting all of its profound energy, as the pressurizing aura it gave out became stronger and stronger. Under this pressure, not one magical beast could be seen around several miles near Huang Yueli. However, Huang Yueli herself didn't lay down limp on the ground like what little Cheelin hoped. In fact, the hand which carried little Cheelin didn't even show any signs of shaking. She caressed little Cheelin's scales as her eyes turned into crescent moon shape as she smiled sweetly. Wah, Fa Kai, your ability is becoming strong and stronger. My Wang Kai is much bigger than you, but in terms of the same attribute magical beast aura, it totally cannot be compared to you. You indeed have great innate talent. Quickly let sister give you a kiss. Little Cheelin, "Aw." Who was Wang Kai? Just as it was in a daze, Wang Yueli had already lifted it up, towards her face. Little Qilin finally reacted as it tried its best to struggle, but it was still forcefully kissed by the sacred phoenix race's female demon. Little Qilin was inconsolable with grief and indignation. Why didn't its master care about it? Why did he leave it in the hands of the female demon? What was most infuriating was that this female demon's soul trace was so powerful that she actually wasn't affected by its pressurizing aura. She was obviously only in the 5th stage realm. Little Qilin was still young, hence it wasn't able to deduce that Huang Yueli's innate talent was also god grade. She was also one of the top super geniuses in Sacred Phoenix race. Spiritual beasts infants mostly had powerful innate talents, but the abilities were very ordinary. They mainly relied on their innate bloodline to intimidate other magical beasts and people. But when they met with god-grade geniuses in terms of bloodline, they could only tuck their tails between their legs and wait to be contracted. Hence when little Phoenix Wang Kai saw Li Moying, it acted like it was a mouse meeting a cat. Hence little Qilin's bitter experience wasn't just a chance event. You can also listen on. Huang Yueli had been teasing little Qilin as she slowly walked towards the deep end of the valley. The further she walked, the more careful she became. Because little Qilin was still in its infancy stage, so although it had a natural-born awe, but it didn't have the corresponding ability. Magical beasts grades which were slightly lower were easily scared off by it, but magical beasts in 8th or 9th grades weren't that easy to deal with. Especially for 9th grade magical beasts, some of them had an instinct in their bones to want to challenge the spiritual beasts. On seeing little Qilin, they might not even ride or hide. On the contrary, they might just rush up for a challenge. On their way, there were many high-grade magical beasts' carcasses. Initially it was all 7th grade, but as they continued to walk, 8th grade magical beasts' carcass started to appear, and further up, there were even a few 9th grade magical beasts with 0 stars. Some bluish-purple light balls were still floating on top of these carcasses, apparently left behind by Li Moying for her. Huang Yueli's lips rose as she stretched out her hand and waved, while immodestly taking it all in. After all, she was a 9th grade talent in thunder attribute, hence when thunder attributed profound energy entered her body, it made the profound energy within her median expanded by a large chunk in an instant, as her body was filled with abundant profound energy, almost seeping out. As there was too much profound energy and it was too pure, when it entered her dantian, it seemed like a hot knife through butter as it easily charged through the advancement channel. Huang Yueli immediately sat down and worked up her cultivation method. Not long after, she broke through the 5th stage realm's 6th level checkpoint. She opened her eyes and looked upwards, as she thought little Qilin would have taken the opportunity while she wasn't noticing and had escaped as it worked its short legs, trying its very best to seek its master to save it. In the end, the truth was that little thing sprawled on the ground, totally not moving, as its body was shrouded with a bluish-purple dim light. Apparently the energy in the light balls could be absorbed by little Qilin as well. But this little thing was a tad too greedy, as it forgot to take into consideration that it was still very young and unable to absorb so much energy at one go, which would cause indigestion. Hence it was giving off this intoxicated look. Huang Yueli grabbed the soft scale on the back of its neck as she lifted it up. This is the result of eating on the sly, understand? Quickly say 100 times that this sister is the most beautiful and most adorable, then I'll help you absorb off the excess profound energy. Little Qilin lifted up its eyelids as it looked at her in indignation. Profiteering while it was down, how utterly shameless. Huang Yueli's brows rose and was just about to continue teasing this little thing. Suddenly an earth-shattering explosion was heard not too far away, and the ground kept on shaking. Huang Yueli missed a step and almost fell flat on her face as she swayed around. She finally managed to steady herself as she raised her head up and saw bolts after bolts of lightning in the sky, striking downwards continuously. The surrounding thunder attributed profound energy seemed to be led by an invisible big hand, as it flowed towards the valley's deepest end. Huang Yueli's expression changed. No good, could Li Moying have met with trouble? She picked up little Qilin with one hand and ran towards the inner region of the refinement grounds. She ran on for quite a while before she found herself in the center position of the valley. Li Moying had already killed off a large portion of the magical beasts in the refinement grounds in the inner region within a short span of 1 month and directly threaded into the deepest core region of the entire territory. On her way running over, there were very few magical beasts' carcasses. There were a total of slightly over 10 carcasses, and every single one gave off a shockingly powerful aura. You can also listen on. The nearer the core, the stronger the magical beast's ability. Without any exception, all of these were the existing leaders among the 9th grade magical beasts. Furthermore, from the injuries on these magical beasts, it looked different from those low-grade magical beasts, all of them which died under one blow or within a few blows. But the injuries on these carcasses were extremely heterogeneous as the slashes were all disorderly. It was easy to tell that they had gone through a tough battle before they laid down in extreme irreconciliation under Li Moying's sword. Huang Yueli knew that the further she delved in, the more dangerous it would get, so every single step she took was with utmost prudence as she surveyed the surrounding situation. After walking in for a distance, she finally met Li Moying. That man was dressed in a black-colored long robe and he was shrouded by electricity currents. Behind him was a pair of huge thunder wings as it stretched outwards, causing his body to float in mid-air, and his speed increased by a huge margin. Right now, he was facing 3 9th grade magical beasts. 9th grade magical beasts' battle power far surpasses 9th stage realm practitioners, and even for Murongda, that kind of long-established top expert, wanting to kill a 9th grade magical beast was an extremely tough mission to undertake. Whereas right now, Li Moying was facing a total of 3 such magical beasts. When Huang Yueli saw this, her expression turned grave. She could sense the profound energy fluctuations from Li Moying, and it was still in 7th stage realm peak condition, but the profound energy in him was filled to an incredulous stage, ready to charge to an even higher realm anytime. But Li Moying seemed to be seeking a perfect breakthrough, hence he had been suppressing his profound energy. Huang Yueli's scope was high, and that was naturally understandable. Li Moying wanted to use the difficult battles to purify his own profound energy to be even purer, so that when he advanced, it would make his foundation even more secure, hence making up for the impact of his speedy advancement during this period. But in this way, his situation was even more precarious. 7th stage realm peak, against 3 9th grade magical beasts. Even for Huang Yueli, who deeply understood his ability and potential, broke out in cold sweat for him. The battle was extremely intense, and Li Moying was facing magical beasts' group attack which had far surpassed his own. It could be described as him being surrounded by perils, and he sustained several serious injuries. Not only was his body filled with ghastly injuries, there was once when he was even struck flying off while throwing up blood. Seeing that handsome-looking face turning paler by the minute, Huang Yueli's heart wrenched into a bundle. If possible, she would love to rush up immediately, rendering aid to Li Moying. Even if her ability couldn't match up to his, or she might even face the danger of being killed by those magical beasts, she would not hesitate to do so. But right now, she could not go over. Because Li Moying's motive was refinement, and for him to break through, the chance would only appear in a life-and-death situation, hence he took the risks out of desperation, risking all he had to challenge magical beasts whose abilities were far stronger than his own. She could not spoil this man's plan. Furthermore, she and Li Moying had gone through many experience learning before, and those years of experience told her that this man had never left her disappointed. Every single time, he was able to win himself while obtaining achievements and breakthroughs which ordinary people could hardly imagine. As what she hoped, even after Li Moying had been forced to retreat several times by the magical beasts, but there wasn't a single time when he had turned weak or given up hope. However, it spiked his determination as there was an inexhaustible supply of the profound energy in him as it flooded out. You can also listen on. Moreover, the electric currents surrounding him had slowly turned from bluish-purple into a pure purple color. It was extremely eye-catching and extremely dazzling. The speed of his moves were extremely fast as the hand which gripped his sword became even stable. Eventually, after sustaining the bitter battle for several hours, Li Moying successfully killed those 3 magical beasts to obtain the final victory. He gave a long huff as he felt the profound energy within his body was almost depleted and his body was about to collapse. Just as he felt totally drained of energy, he suddenly heard a shrill coming from his back not too far away. "Moying, Moying, are you all right? Are you hurt anywhere?" The familiar sweet voice was filled with worry. Li Moying turned back in a hurry and saw a petite young lady speeding towards him as she pounced into his arms. He originally didn't have much energy left, and after being pounced on by her, he fell back totally. The 2 of them fell onto the ground. "Hey!" Huang Yueli fell onto his chest and her face was totally embarrassed as she pushed his chest and tried to get up. Whoever knew, this push coincidentally hurt his wound, making him suck in deeply as his face contorted in pain. Huang Yueli immediately got tensed. "There are so many wounds on you and it's all so deep. Earlier you threw up blood as well. Are you internally injured as well? Quickly take the medicinal pills, I'll bandage up your wounds." She hastily retrieved the ceramic bottles as she poured out the medicinal pills, stuffing it into his mouth in handfuls. After that she took out the ointment for external injuries and treated his wounds. Li Moying obediently let her do as she wished as his lips revealed a smile. To be tended to so anxiously by his beloved woman, anyone would feel extremely happy. Suddenly he sensed a slight pain on his thigh as he hurriedly lowered his head to take a look. Little Qilin squatted along his thigh as its little claw kept rubbing against his feet, using its gem-shaped large eyes brimming with tears as it looked at him in grievance. On seeing Li Moying noticing it, little Qilin immediately used its claw to point towards Huang Yueli, as though it was complaining about him. It had been tortured by her. Li Moying gave a light laugh as he shook his head and stretched out his hand, placing it on top of little Qilin's head. Just at that moment, a bright ray of light flashed past both of them, and that ray of light was simply too bright, so striking that the 2 of them weren't able to open their eyes. What's going on?" Huang Yueli covered her eyes. "I don't know. Stay close to me a little, be careful." Li Moying stretched out his arm to grip her wrist and at the same time, putting on a secured front immediately, prepared to continue battling any time. But after the bright light disappeared, the 2 of them discovered that a stone tablet appeared right in front of them. This stone tablet was extremely grand and ancient. It was a huge block of rectangle like a tall mountain standing right in front of the 2 of them, steady and firm. The entire stone tablet was refined out of an extremely special material. The black stone radiated a bluish-purple color, making it seem even more mysterious and dangerous. This material was something which even Huang Yueli had not seen before. But she judged that this was a kind of higher-tier thunder-attributed material where its tier was even higher than 9th grade. The 2 of them exchanged an astonished glance. Li Moying frowned slightly as he sized up this piece of stone tablet. "What is this thing? Why did it suddenly appear out of nowhere?" You can also listen on. Huang Yueli was also observing the stone tablet. The material used to create this stone tablet is simply a perfect thunder-attributed material. Have you noticed that every inch of the stone tablet was overflowing with a powerful thunder-attributed energy, but it had totally been enveloped up without any bit of it being leaked out? I wonder where the Cloudy Qilin clan found this material from, and if I can just break off a small piece from it. Li Moying's brows twitched. His leer was simply an armament weapon nut. Every time she saw some material, she would hope to dig it out to hide it. Huang Yueli went round the stone tablet once and suddenly cried out excitedly. Mo Ying, quickly take a look. The other side of the stone tablet has a Qilin totem inscribed on. This should be an important mechanism of the Cloudy Qilin clan, right? Li Moying hurriedly chased up to her as he turned to the other side. An extremely large Qilin totem was inscribed on that entire piece of stone tablet. This Qilin was not only large, but also looked extremely real and lively, perfectly reliving the Qilin visual image which he and Huang Yueli had seen in Sage Wu Ding's cave. Furthermore, from the thunder-attributed energy in the stone tablet, this Qilin surroundings gave off a powerful energy, as though it was going to jump out from the stone tablet the very next moment, coming to life. Even little Qilin pounced over excitedly, as though it had seen its relative. Huang Yueli continued talking. I've once seen this same kind of huge spiritual beast totem in the Sacred Phoenix race's inheritance tower, but the totem for Sacred Phoenix race is a phoenix. Looks like these God Realm large families have the habit of rearing the spiritual beasts and using them as their clan's symbolic representation. Li Moying turned around and asked, since you've seen a similar totem previously, then do you know what this is used for? Huang Yueli started to contemplate as she said a while later, the last time I entered was the inheritance tower. Could it be that this stone tablet is also used for inheritance? Speaking of this, have you noticed it yet? We've already delved deep into the hinterland of the valley, so this should be the most central position of the valley. This stone tablet appearing right here definitely had its uses. Li Moying muttered softly, in this case, when I walked over earlier, at the position of the stone tablet, there were 3 magical beasts prowling here. I originally wanted to lure them away individually to kill them, but in the end, all 3 magical beasts noticed me quickly and all of them came right up together. Looks like this isn't by chance. Only after defeating these 3 ninth-grade magical beasts would this stone tablet descend at this place. When Huang Yueli heard that, she clapped her palms hard. That's right. This stone tablet must be the reward for the refinement. Reward? Li Moying frowned. What kind of reward is this? Surely it can't be like what you said, to knock down this stone tablet and bring it back, right? Huang Yueli shot him a glance and lifted up her chin with a pampered arrogant look. Look at you, you don't even know all these. Do you even need to ask this kind of question? Li Moying looked at him in amusement but without a smile as he replied to her, full of indulgence, I indeed don't understand, so will Grandmaster Huang please teach me? Huang Yueli then replied, actually it's very simple. The last time I saw the totem on the door of the inheritance tower, and that time I had no way to open up that door. But later, after I injected my own blood into it, filling up all the chinks of the totem entirely, then the door immediately opened up. Li Moying went into a blank. You mean, my meaning is, the totem should be related to bloodline, so you can try smearing your blood on it to try and see what effect it would produce. You can also listen on. Hearing this, Li Moying's lips twitched as he revealed an incredulous expression. I saw. Lear, are you serious? Fill all the chinks of the totem with blood. Are you certain? The last time you saw the phoenix totem on the door, was it really that huge? The huge-sized stone tablet was at least 20 meters in height and the Qilin's totem was extremely huge. If he wanted to use his blood to fill in all the chinks in the sculpture of the Qilin totem, it was an impossible mission. Even if he let off all his blood in his body, he probably wouldn't be able to even fill up 1/4 of it. Huang Yueli looked at the stone tablet's Qilin and then looked at him as her lips curled up slightly, revealing her 2 tiger fangs. That I don't know. Perhaps the Cloudy Qilin clan's blood is especially a lot, and is able to fill the entire Qilin totem full. Li Moying pinched her cheek as he scoffed at her, no matter what, I'm your fiancé, how can you bully me like this? Huang Yueli blinked, since when did I bully you? What I said is the truth. Ancient God Realm clans' innate talent are all based on invigorating the blood vessels, so naturally they valued the clan's bloodline a lot. You can try. Li Moying knew that although his Lear was a little arrogantly pampered, but with regards to important matters, she absolutely would not harm him. Since she made it out so clearly, then she should be somewhat certain of it. So Li Moying nodded and unhesitatingly walked over to the stone tablet. His right hand turned and the amethyst-light sword appeared in his palm. The sharp blade pierced into his left hand's wrist and blood immediately gushed out. Li Moying brought his blood-filled hand and pressed it on the Qilin totem. The blood on his palm slowly seeped into the chinks of the sculpture. It took only an instant when the stone tablet's color changed. Originally it was black with a hint of purple shade, and now, the black color had started to wane away as the purple shade of the entire stone tablet became even obvious. Electric currents flickered occasionally, as though it was going to split open the entire piece of stone tablet, causing an explosion at any point of time. Li Moying's blood seeped into the stone tablet and turned into a bluish-purple electric current as it swiftly flashed past the Qilin sculpture's chinks, and very soon, it had already flashed past every single chink and returned to its original spot. When Li Moying saw the stone tablets change, his heart lifted up as he wanted to withdraw his hand. But then he realized that his hand seemed to be stuck to the stone tablet, totally unable to withdraw it at all. Whereas his blood and profound energy in his body kept on pouring out in torrents with no way to stop it. It was as though the stone tablet had a kind of mysterious energy which automatically drew away his profound energy and blood. After a long time, he sensed that the stone tablet's absorbing ability started to decrease in speed. He tried to withdraw his hand once again, and this time, he succeeded. This is a little too magnificent. Huang Yueli walked next to him as they lifted up their heads to look at the stone tablet. The stone tablet's color had once again darkened, resuming back to the mysterious luster of black with a hint of purple, but the lively-looking Qilin sculpture had totally been filled with thunder-attributed profound energy as it turned into an eye-piercing bluish-purple color. The thunder-attributed energy kept on flowing around, giving off an endless vitality to this totem. Li Moying turned back to take a look at his fiancée and was just about to speak when suddenly, he felt that he saw black. Immediately following that, his body disappeared from the original location. Moying, why are you ignoring me? Huang Yueli blinked her large eyes, and upon turning back, there was no more sight of Li Moying's whereabouts. You can also listen on. Above the millions and millions of stars, there was a vast-sized continent, which was even larger by 100 times and above of soaring heaven's continent. The density of the heaven and earth's profound chi was much higher by at least 10 times. This was God Realm, where the lower world's top exponents desired most to arrive at. In a cave in God Realm where magic chi enveloped it, 2 old men were playing chess when one of them suddenly gave off an astonished expression, as the chess piece in his hand dropped on the chessboard. Old man Wu Ding, what's the matter with you? Don't tell me that you know that you're going to lose to me, so you are intentionally trying to find an excuse to slip away. The white-haired sage Wu Ding was so infuriated that he blew his beard and widened his eyes in anger when he heard that. Old man Dong, what nonsense are you sprouting? Am I the kind of person who cannot afford to lose? Since when had I intentionally slipped away on purpose? Really? Then why are you acting so flustered? The elderly man surnamed Dong had a suspicious look all over his face. Sage Wu Ding gave him a stare and said, Old man Dong, do you still remember? Several 100,000 of years ago, when I was still in soaring heaven's continent, I had once been the overall in charge of the clan's refinement grounds. Old man Dong replied, How could I possibly not know? Do you really think my memory is failing because of my age? We were already working together then. That year, soaring heaven's continent's Violet Sun Valley was our cloudy Qilin clan's biggest refinement grounds. So many peerless geniuses fought head over heels just to gain a quota to enter into the Violet Sun Valley. Isn't that so? When we were young, hadn't we also undergone refinement in the Violet Sun Valley? Sage Chu Ding spoke while reminiscing about the past. Old Man Dong looked at his expression and asked curiously, "What's the matter? Why have you suddenly recalled the Violet Sun Valley?" Ever since the change in Soaring Heaven's continent took effect and the profound energy dissipated, all the direct descendant clansmen of Cloudy Chelan clan had all moved away from Soaring Heaven's continent, and Violet Sun Valley had become an abandoned ground. These are matters which had happened several hundred thousands of years ago, and you still remember about it. Sage Wu Ding shook his head and said, "Actually, the Violet Sun Valley isn't completely abandoned, but as the density of the profound Qi in Soaring Heaven's continent isn't enough, so there is no way to operate as per normal. After every few thousand years, it would have stored enough energy and would show up, even if Violet Sun Valley could show up, so what about it? There are no longer any clansmen from Cloudy Chelan clan there, so it's impossible to have a peerless genius appearing like several hundred thousands of years ago. As for ordinary practitioners, even if they might have the fate and opportunity, entering it would only mean that they didn't have a chance to return. It was impossible to get any chance in the Violet Sun Valley, not to mention that they would just end their lives there instead." The old man named Dong spoke with a certain tone. This was because he had lived for a long time, because at an age of several hundred thousand years old, what strange things had he not experienced? He naturally would know what kind of situation it was like at that kind of abandoned refinement grounds. Whoever knew, when Sage Wu Ding heard that, he fiddled with his beard and shook his head while smiling. "Old Man Dong, you've guessed it wrongly this time round. I was feeling astonished earlier just because I had suddenly sensed that someone had intruded into Violet Sun Valley, so what if they had intruded into it? What's the big deal about it?" Old Man Dong picked up his teacup in a disapproving look. Sage Wu Ding continued, "Why can't you hear me finish my sentence? Intruding into Violet Sun Valley isn't rare, but what if that person successfully activated the Chelan tablet?" Old Man Dong had already sipped a mouthful of tea, and upon hearing that, he directly spat out the mouthful of tea out of his mouth. His eyes opened up wide with a look of disbelief on his face. "What did you say? Someone activated the Chelan tablet in Violet Sun Valley. You can also listen on." Sage Chu Ding nodded. "That's right." Old Man Dong went into a blank for a moment before gradually regaining his composure as he leaned back against the chair once again. "I think it must be your misperception. Soaring Heaven's continent and God Realm's distance is several thousand miles, and furthermore, Violet Sun Valley has been abandoned for such a long time. The sense that you, the Valley Master of Violet Sun Valley, might not be accurate. Otherwise, there simply isn't any way to explain how such a thing could be possible." After Sage Wu Ding had been assigned as Violet Sun Valley's Valley Master several hundred thousand years ago, he had established a spiritual connection with the valley's formation, and no matter what happened in the valley could not be hidden from him. When Cloudy Chelan clan departed from Soaring Heaven's continent, even though that kind of spiritual connection had not been erased, but following the passing of time, the link would become weaker and weaker. Several hundred thousand years wasn't considered a short time, so now that Sage Wu Ding could no longer sense most of the situation in Violet Sun Valley. When ordinary sects activated the Cloudy Chelan mystic region, he just had a hazy sensation. But this time, Sage Wu Ding appeared to be extremely serious and grave. "This shouldn't be my misperception. You know that the activation of the Chelan tablet, even if it was several hundred thousand years ago, it was a huge matter which could shock the entire clan. Because this means that a god-grade genius is born. A genius who would excel in the entire god realm had appeared. This feeling is extremely intense and very distinct. The feeling of it against ordinary people intruding into the valley is totally different." Old Man Dong's mouth was agape as his tongue was tied. So you feel that this is real? There's really a genius who had activated the Chelan tablet?" Sage Chu Ding nodded his head vigorously. That's right. Actually, some days ago, when this person entered the Cloudy Chelan clan's historical remains, I'd already sensed it. He had also activated a cave which I stayed in and even took away the baby Chelan which I had sealed up in the cave. But that time I thought it was a misperception, so I didn't bother about it. Later on I sensed that he had entered into Violet Sun Valley. His abilities should be very strong because the profound energy fluctuations in the valley were seriously influenced by him. If my feeling wasn't wrong, around 80% of the magical beasts in the valley had all been killed by him. It had merely been just over a month's time. Now he had once again successfully entered the core region, passing the test and even letting Chelan Tablet appear on this earth once again. Hearing Sage Wu Ding's words, Old Man Dong didn't know what he should say. Cloudy Chelan clansmen had all moved to the God Realm and reconstructed a new refinement ground. The new refinement ground was similar to Violet Sun Valley, with only a minute difference. For so many years, there were plenty of Cloudy Chelan clan's geniuses and they had even become the leading top 10 families in God Realm, as there was no lack of strong practitioners in the clan. However, among so many geniuses, for several 100,000 years, there were only a handful of people who could activate the Chelan Tablet. In the past 10,000 years, there was none at all. Old Man Dong's voice was shaking as he cried out emotionally, "If what you said is true, then that would be too shocking, too incredible." The clan had not appeared such a powerful god-grade genius in the last 100,000 years. Yet one actually appeared in Soaring Heaven's continent. The disciples in God Realm clans are all nurtured under large amounts of resources and in that ghostly place like Soaring Heaven's continent where even heaven and earth's profound energy was so scarce, not to mention that the other resources were such a pitiful amount. You can also listen on. If under this kind of situation, there was someone who could pass the various tests in Violet Sun Valley and successfully entering the core region to successfully activate the Chelan Tablet, then his innate talent is simply unimaginable. Perhaps he had even surpassed God-grade genius's standard. If all these are true, then wouldn't our Cloudy Chelan clan have run into great luck? In God Realm, the fights between various powerhouses were intense. Even though Cloudy Chelan clan was now the first seat among the top 10 families, but this was only temporary. Many clans were eyeing them, and the minute Cloudy Chelan clan's entire ability dropped, they would be replaced by someone else easily. Whereas the most important factor when deciding on a clan's ability was the clan's practitioner's ability. Indeed, Cloudy Chelan clan's overall ability was very strong and there were plenty of heaven-grade geniuses around. After so many years of accumulation, the clan's elders and guardians in authority had much stronger abilities than the other clan's practitioners in the same positions. But this was not enough. The other clans were not vegetarians and the number of heaven-grade geniuses they had in their clans weren't little as well. The real deciding factor in the clan's future was actually a god-grade genius in the clan. Only one would be born every few 10,000 years, and that was enough to fire up the entire clan. In the past 10,000 years, there was no heaven-grade genius in the Cloudy Chelan clan. If Sage Wu Ding's senses weren't wrong, in the clan's branch in the lower realm, a god-grade genius was actually born, then it was a serious matter which was worth rejoicing over. It was enough to stir up the entire clan. Just thinking of this alone, Old Man Dong's body was so excited that it started to shake. With this god-grade genius, as long as we can bring him to God Realm and nurture him properly, once he grows up, the position of our Cloudy Chelan clan in the future 10,000 years in God Realm would be guaranteed. That's simply great. This matter ought to be reported to the clan leader as soon as possible. He got more agitated as he spoke, however. Sage Wu Ding didn't smile because of that. On the contrary, he suddenly recalled something as the expression on his face turned extremely terrible, even starting to sprout sweat. Old Man Dong, don't be in such a hurry. If there really is such a god-grade genius, then he would probably in huge trouble this time round. Old Man Dong went into a blank as he turned back while asking curiously, "What do you mean?" Sage Wu Ding's complexion turned paler by the minute. "You don't know about this. All the mechanisms and arrays operation in Violet Sun Valley required strong heaven and earth profound qi to support it. But now soaring heaven's continent's profound qi isn't enough to support the entire Violet Sun Valley's operation as per normal, so a portion of the mechanism would be ineffective." Old Man Dong seemed to have recalled something as he revealed a terrified look on his face. "Sue, surely not right. You mean..." "My meaning is the Qilin tablet requires a huge amount of energy to exhaust, and moreover, it usually could not be activated for 100,000 of years, so under insufficient heaven and earth profound qi, the first to become ineffective is the Qilin tablet." "You are saying that the Qilin tablet would become ineffective because of the lack of energy? But hadn't that genius successfully activated the Qilin tablet earlier?" Old Man Dong evidently don't believe in his words. Sage Wu Ding continued, "Qilin tablet would not lose its ability to be activated because of this. But it would lose a portion of its effect, a portion of its effect." Old Man Dong suddenly had an extremely bad premonition. You can also listen on. "Right, a portion of its use." Sage Wu Ding took a deep breath as he explained, "You haven't activated the Qilin tablet before, so you're probably not aware of the situation in the Qilin tablet. Actually, that is another refinement ground, but limited only to God-grade geniuses to enter. God-grade geniuses might face the most terrifying life and death crisis in there, and according to their final performance, they would obtain different kinds of rewards. To the past God-grade geniuses, if they failed the refinement, they would obtain the corresponding rewards and be expelled from the Qilin tablet, which meant the end of the refinement. But now that a portion of the mechanism became ineffective, then," Sage Chu Ding's voice was cold as he continued, "if he failed the refinement, whether he would be expelled from the Qilin tablet or not, there would be only two paths in front of him. Either he completes the refinement totally and obtain the reward for completing the refinement perfectly, otherwise..." His voice paused and Old Man Dong's heart jumped to the back of his throat. "Otherwise what?" "Otherwise, only death awaits." Hearing that, Old Man Dong nearly jumped out of his chair. What? How could there be such a thing? In the past, how many of those God-grade geniuses had successfully passed through the Qilin tablet refinement perfectly? Sage Wu Ding took a look at him and his voice turned chillier. In all the historical books which recorded the history of Cloudy Qilin clan, among those God-grade geniuses who activated the Qilin tablet, the highest completion rate in the refinement was only 80%. The number of them who had passed through the stage perfectly was 0. In Violet Sun Valley. After Li Moying injected his blood onto the Qilin tablet's totem, the Qilin tablet was activated. He was caught unaware and his eyes saw black as he instantly lost consciousness. When he finally reopened his eyes again, he found himself in a dark room where he couldn't even see his fingers in front of him, not to mention that there was no sight of his Lear. Li Moying cried out loudly, "Lear! Lear! Where are you? If you hear me, make a sound and let me know your position. I wonder where we are right now. Why is this place so pitch dark?" However, no one replied to him. Li Moying frowned as he raised his voice once again, "Lear! Lear!" But what responded back to him was complete silence. Li Moying was extremely worried. He wasn't especially worried if he himself had met with danger, but when the matter concerned Huang Yueli, he totally couldn't calm himself down. After all, this valley's inner portion was the core region and it originally was filled with dangers. There were so many 9th-tier magical beasts lying in wait and he was worried that Huang Yueli would run into danger and was unable to deal with it. His right hand drew out a ball of flame as he wanted to use the light to check out the surrounding situation. Whoever knew the minute the flame lit up, a sharp cold wind came pouncing towards his direction. Li Moying sensed an intense crisis and his heart jerked violently. This feeling was exceptionally terrifying, and this was the first time Li Moying had felt such a life-threatening threat so distinctly. His experience in facing battles was rich, and he reacted swiftly as he immediately evaded towards the opposite direction. However, the attacker behind him was even faster in reaction. On seeing him switch directions, he immediately followed him like his shadow. Bolts of lightning kept striking out towards him from the back, and Li Moying tried his hardest but was still unable to evade it totally. He was then struck on his right shoulder. SSSSSS, he immediately drew in a mouthful of cold air. You can also listen on. This bolt of lightning penetrated through his shoulder, however no blood poured out. A sharp pain seemed to radiate out from his bones as it speedily extended to the surroundings from the position of the wound, and very quickly, his entire arm started to turn painful. Li Moying frowned as he realized the severity of the matter. It wasn't a good thing when it didn't bleed. That meant that he was not only hurt in the flesh, even his meridians and bones were impacted heavily, so what he was losing wasn't just blood but life source. Li Moying was feeling mortified. Just who was chasing him from behind? How could he be so strong to such an extent? He rarely met with this kind of situation, totally unable to strike back upon being beaten. Luckily, Li Moying wasn't thrown into a disorder as he maintained his shocking calm even in such a situation. He swiftly congealed the profound energy in his body, and after a few sudden evasions, he suddenly turned around and casted an attack with the surging thunder-attributed energy from his body. Roar! An earth-shattering howl rang. Li Moying stared intently to the front to find a huge qilin slowly appearing from the darkness. Its entire body was shrouded with dazzling crystal-like scales, and its bluish-purple light flowed around its body. The powerful and magnificent aura started emitting out from its body. The image of this spiritual beast was exactly the same as what he saw on the huge stone tablet. To the point that when they faced each other, he could distinctly feel that this qilin had an irresistible pressure on it. This pressure was much stronger by 10 times or more than the pressure which radiated from the totem earlier. Li Moying's expression was cold as he gripped the amethyst-light sword in his arms, paying full attention to prepare for battle. Evidently, this qilin was not totally the same as the one which he had met in Sage Wu Ding's cave. The one in the cave was obviously just a virtual image, and although it had been imitated by the use of secret arts and could revive the traces of the original spiritual beast's battle method and energy, but it was after all not a real spiritual beast. So its battle power was merely 9th tier end stage magical beast standard, which was something which Li Moying was still able to deal with. But the one in front of him was much stronger. On seeing it at the first instance, Li Moying's heart shook vigorously as he felt that he was almost not able to take on the overbearing and prestigious pressure. This heaven-defying aura was something which a true matured ancient spiritual beast was capable of. But Li Moying frowned. Was this possible? The one who attacked him was a matured qilin. Matured qilins were the clan's most important fortune, so how could it possibly have been abandoned here? Just at this moment, Li Moying suddenly sensed a buzz in his mind and felt slightly dizzy. At the same time, a sinisterly cold voice rang in his mind. Human, Li Moying abruptly lifted up his head. In the darkness, the qilin's spiritual beast ray seemed especially radiant. Young fellow from the cloudy qilin clan, you're not bad. It had been several 100,000 years since anything had activated the qilin tablet. Li Moying was first bewildered, but he quickly reacted as he hurriedly asked, "You mean to say I'm now inside that piece of huge tablet now? That stone tablet is called the qilin tablet. What is the situation now? This qilin tablet or something, what is it for? You can also listen on." Qilin tablet. It's cloudy qilin clan's ultimate refinement assessment. Only God-grade geniuses are able to summon the qilin tablet out. A scratchy sound came from the Qilin's body. God-grade genius. Li Moying's brows rose in astonishment. If it was any other person in Soaring Heaven's continent, they probably wouldn't had any concept on this at all. But Li Moying had heard about the different grades of geniuses in God Realm from Huang Yueli and knew that the so-called God-grade geniuses of the clans in God Realm were very different from their understanding in Soaring Heaven's continent. To be acclaimed as God-grade in Cloudy Qilin clan, that would be a peerless genius who called the shots in God Realm. Even if it were those top-rated powerhouses like Cloudy Qilin clan or Sacred Phoenix race, there weren't too many of such people. Hearing the Qilin saying that he was God-grade, Li Moying's heart was secretly delighted because this was the greatest affirmation towards his ability. Even if he knew that he had outstanding talent, but hearing this conclusion still made him feel extremely happy. Qilin said, God-grade geniuses will only appear once every few 10,000 years and the Qilin tablet would only be activated once every 10,000 years. In the recent 10,000s of years, this is the first time it has been activated. Young fellow from Cloudy Qilin sect, you're not simply a. One fine day when you return to the clan in God Realm, you'd definitely cause a sensation. Li Moying went into a blank and replied, I haven't considered things which are that far yet. After all, I'm only in the 7th stage realm now. Reaching God Realm will at least take 10 years or more. Qilin's voice was mixed with some laughter. Based on your innate talent, you might not need to wait 10 years that long. Li Moying didn't bother explaining further. After all, he wasn't alone, and if he had to ascend alone, then whatever would happen to his lair. Although Huang Yueli had outstanding talent, but she had started cultivating rather late in this lifetime, wasting quite a number of years. He asked again, then, how can I complete the refinement? Qilin replied, very simple, you only need to kill me and you'd be considered to have passed through the Qilin tablet's refinement. Li Moying's eyes widened as he asked in disbelief, what? Kill you? He simply could not believe his own ears. Qilin immediately explained, I'm a sealed spiritual body in the Qilin tablet and I will not die or be eliminated, but I am still able to utilize 90% of my ability when I was still alive. Even if you manage to kill me successfully, the Qilin tablet will restore my spiritual body after thousands of years later. Li Moying then understood that the Qilin in front of him was actually long dead. No wonder it had been left behind by the Cloudy Qilin clan in the Qilin Tower, to be used for refinement purposes. But Li Moying was still shocked because the condition for completing this refinement was simply too ridiculous. A matured spiritual beast, it had genuine God-grade ability. Even if it was a sealed spiritual body, its cultivation was slightly discounted, so it definitely was still nearer to 10th stage realm. Even in his past life's peak, to deal with this kind of magical beast required him to undergo a tough battle. Whereas for him now, his potential in this lifetime as compared to the past was a huge gap. Moreover, killing and defeating was totally two different matters. Defeating the opponent sometimes required a certain percentage of ability, luck and meticulous observation which would be possible. But towards this grade of battle, to kill the opponent, it definitely wasn't based on skill or luck which could be materialized. It was necessary to rely on absolute power. Generally speaking, only with absolute overwhelming power would one be guaranteed a chance to kill the opponent. You can also listen on. Now Li Moying's cultivation was at the weaker end and he had to kill a spiritual beast. This was really an impossible mission. Qilin immediately said, once the refinement has started, I will not stop it in the middle. But if you feel that you are not able to continue, you can request for the refinement to end. But in this way, it is impossible for you to enter the Qilin tablet again, do you understand? Li Moying had already calmed himself down and his gaze was even more profound than usual. I understand. Qilin swept him a glance and said, As you're the only practitioner who had successfully activated the Qilin tablet in the past several hundred thousands of years, I shall break the exception to give you a reminder. During the refinement, the injuries that I caused upon you are real, and that is to say that there is a possibility that you may die. I hope you must remember this point, and if you can't continue, ask to leave by yourself. In the past there were quite a number of god-grade geniuses who obviously couldn't pass the refinement but still hung on tightly. In the end they met with their demise right here. This was a huge loss to the entire clan. This time round Li Moying remained silent for a very long time. He had not expected that this Qilin seemed to know how to read one's mind, as it saw through what he was thinking about at one glance. Peerless geniuses usually never met much opponents who were able to defeat them, so even if they met someone who was much stronger than him, he would not easily admit defeat. He, naturally, wasn't an exception. Since he had entered the refinement, then he would definitely try his best till the last drop of blood in him, not wanting to give up any chance of passing the stage, disregarding his own life and death. If it wasn't for Qilin, which reminded him, he would definitely have done so. But now, hearing what Qilin said, his first reaction was to think of Huang Yueli immediately. His Lear was still waiting for him outside the Qilin tablet. If he wasn't able to leave this place, based on Huang Yueli's ability, even if she was that intelligent, there was still some difficulty for her to leave this valley safely. Furthermore, the two of them had finally understood each other's feelings, and if he were to just die like that, Lear would definitely die of sadness. He was already a family man, so he could no longer be like how he was in the past. Thinking of this, he nodded. I know. Thank you, Senior, for the pointer. But this Junior still has something to ask. What is it? Li Moying said. This Junior would like to ask an impromptu question. How many of those god-grade geniuses in this Qilin tablet had managed to pass through the refinement successfully? Qilin replied coldly, none at all. None. At all? Li Moying went into a blank. But weren't those practitioners who entered the ultimate refinement all god-grade geniuses? That's right. What do you think that the ultimate refinement was? Did you think that spiritual beast's ability is just what you see on the surface? God-grade innate talent is only a temporary expedient to enter this place. So the ultimate refinement isn't some embarrassing matter. Alright, are you done with the nonsense? Then, the refinement shall officially begin. When Li Moying heard that, his entire body shook as his right hand gripped the amethyst light sword tightly, and the purple electric currents on the sword blade had already flown up to the skies. At the same time, the Qilin spiritual beast's figure also turned into a bolt of purple light, pouncing towards him speedily. God Realm. Cloudy Qilin Clan. Old Man Dong stared at Sage Wuding in shock. What? Don't tell me that in the past, no one had been able to pass through the Qilin tablet refinement perfectly. You can also listen on. That's impossible, right? No matter what, to be able to activate the Qilin tablet, those people are all god-grade geniuses. In our history, Cloudy Qilin clan also had geniuses who had innate talents above god grades. Don't tell me that even they were unable to pass through the stage successfully. I don't believe such a thing. Sage Wuding said, what's so strange about that? That year, old clan leader joined hands with God Realm's top 10 armament master before they were able to refine this piece of Qilin tablet successfully, and even subdued the spiritual beast which had just died in a battle, sealing it into that tablet. To you and me who had been cultivating for several 10,000s of years, wanting to kill a matured Qilin also wasn't an easy matter. Whereas for those geniuses who entered Violet Sun Valley, their ages cannot be over 30. Try to recall when we were 30 years old, what kind of potential did we had? Don't talk about killing a Qilin, probably just a breath from the Qilin would result in us incurring a serious injury and throwing up blood. If these god-grade geniuses were at least able to deal with the Qilin for a while or even seriously injuring the Qilin, it would already be an extraordinary ability. Old Man Dong answered, "What you said isn't wrong. But haven't you said this earlier yourself?" This time, the Qilin tablet had not absorbed enough heaven and earth profound energy, and if the genius who had entered wasn't able to pass through the stage successfully, then death would await him. Now you say that no one had ever passed through this refinement. Doesn't it mean that the lower realms branch had finally appeared a god-grade genius, but he's going to fall right there? Sage Wu Ding was worried about this matter, and hearing that, his forehead creased even tighter. Isn't that so? The clan hadn't had such a genius like this in a long time. What's more, that person appeared from the lower realm. Under such scarce resources and still able to have such achievement, his future is limitless, and if he really died there, it would be such a waste. But he's already entered the Qilin tablet, so we already have no chance to stop him. Old Man Dong said, "Then what should we do?" "No way, we must report this matter to the clan leader. Every god-grade genius is the hope for the clan's future, so we cannot allow him to fall like that. Perhaps the clan leader has a way." "Yes, you're right. Let's go now. Let's hope that the young fellow who had entered the Qilin tablet could last a little while longer, otherwise, there's really no one who can save him." Sage Wu Ding seemed as though he suddenly attained enlightenment as he patted his thigh hard and stood up from his seat. The two elderly men got up swiftly and headed towards the clan leader's cave dwelling. However, the two of them had just reached the cave entrance when they were stopped. "Sage Wu Ding, Sage Dong, please hold on." A fierce-looking fatty blocked the duo's path as he gave a smile which didn't reach his eyes. Sage Wu Ding's expression sank immediately. "Steward Yu, what are you trying to do?" Steward Yu sneered, "I'm the one who should be asking you what you want to do. Haven't you heard it all? Clan leader has entered closed-door cultivation in the cave, preparing to break through to the life realm. This is the most important matter in the entire clan. Even the few grand elders don't dare to come disturb him, yet you two just want to rush in like that. Whoever gave you the guts?" Sage Wu Ding's expression was extremely ugly. This steward Yu was the clan leader's cave dwelling's housekeeper, responsible for clan leader's personal matters. Although his cultivation wasn't high and his position in the clan wasn't considered high, but he used the fact that he was reporting to clan leader directly to show off a proud and arrogant look. Usually, other than the clan's elders who held the most power, the other people who wanted to meet the clan leader had to undergo all kinds of obstacles by Steward Yu. You can also listen on. If they didn't come out with something to bribe him, then they definitely would not get past this stage. If it was usual times, although Sage Wu Ding didn't like Steward Yu, but he would still patiently deal with him. But this matter today was simply too urgent. This lower realm genius had already entered the Qilin tablet. They didn't know what level was his ability right now. If it was slightly off, probably within a quarter of an hour, he would be beaten to a half-dead condition by the Qilin, but yet still unable to stop the ultimate refinement. And this time along was enough to turn him into a fresh new corpse. Whereas from what Sage Wu Ding saw, lower realm practitioners who were able to reach god-grade innate talent was already an unimaginable miracle. Then among the god-grade geniuses, he should be of a lower standard, so when he entered the Qilin tablet, he would definitely not be able to hold on. He would probably be finished within a few breaths of time. Of course, now that Sage Wu Ding hadn't sensed any news regarding the lower realm genius's death, but that didn't represent that he had time to waste on that fatty Yu. Perhaps at the very next moment, that genius would not be able to hold on any longer. This was absolutely a crucial timing to catch hold of. Sage Wu Ding clenched his teeth as he retrieved a verdant dark green gemstone from his realm ring. That piece of stone was connected at the head and tail and was sculpted into two interconnecting toroidal. He passed the gemstone to Fatty Yu and lowered his voice as he whispered, "Steward Yu, this is a little appreciation from me. Will you please do us a favor? We really have a very important matter and need to meet with the clan leader." Fatty Yu saw his performance and was first slightly astonished, but immediately following that, he gave off a sinister smile. He was good in knowing what's what, and the toroidal stone which Sage Wu Ding brought out was priceless. That was a priceless and rare profound artifact which could raise one's cultivation speed. It was rare to see Sage Wu Ding so cooperative. Looked like he really had an urgent matter to deal with today. This was a great chance to sweep in a fortune. Fatty Yu immediately said, "Sage Wu Ding, what are you trying to do? Trying to bribe me? Take it back, take it back. What sort of man do you think Yu De Zhuang is? I've told you several times that it's not that I don't wish to inform, but clan leader is really in closed-door cultivation. If we were to disturb clan leader now, if he is just about to break through to the life realm and the chance is spoiled by us, who will take up the responsibility for this?" He shook his head, and although his mouth was saying, "Take it back," but the fingers on his right hand gripped onto the toroidal stone, totally not wanting to let go. Sage Wu Ding got anxious. "Steward Yu, please do us a favor. In future, I will think of ways to repay you, so will you please help us pass the message?" However, Fatty Yu had already set his mind on being pretentious, totally ignoring how anxious he was. On the contrary, the more Sage Wu Ding was, the happier he got. This meant that this big fish was hooked. The two of them were in a deadlock, hence Sage Wu Ding got more and more frustrated as close to an hour had passed. That genius in the lower realm wouldn't die immediately, right? No way. This was Cloudy Qilin clan's hope for the next several 100,000 of years. He finally couldn't tolerate it any further as he hollered, "Yu De Zhuang, I really have a very important matter, and today you're blocking the entrance, holding up the major event. In future, when the clan leader were to put the blame, you totally are not able to take it up because killing you is not even enough to pay for it. Don't blame me for not reminding you. Still not going to hurry and move aside? You can also listen on." Sage Dong also hurried over to speak in support. "What Brother Wu Ding said is correct. Steward Yu, we really have an extremely important matter, one which concerns the entire Cloudy Qilin clan's future. We really can't delay this any further." When Yu De Zhuang heard that, he somehow felt that something was amiss as he questioned them with a face filled with suspicions. "What matter do you really have?" Sage Wu Ding was going to die of anger, but he knew that if he didn't manage to dismiss this fatty, he would definitely not be able to see clan leader. He could only force down his attitude and, using the fastest speed he could, to briefly explain the entire matter. In the end, before he could finish his story, Yu De Zhuang couldn't help but burst out into laughter. "Ha ha ha ha, really laughed me. What did you say earlier? There's a god-grade genius in the lower realm which has extremely scarce heaven and earth profound chi. Sage Wu Ding, I think you must be getting on in age that you've even developed hallucination. How could this be possible?" Sage Wu Ding was both angry and anxious as he emphasized, "This is not my hallucination, it's real. I was once the Valley Master for Violet Sun Valley, and I had been sensing whatever happened in the valley." Yu De Zhuang didn't think much of it as he continued laughing. "So what about that? How many years has Violet Sun Valley been abandoned for? Moreover, soaring heaven's continents and God realm is so far away, so how could you still accurately sense it? I think this must really be a kind of illusion. Don't you even consider just how much resources we have been spending in God realm, filtering out the clan's geniuses layer by layer, and we are only able to come out with a god-grade genius in several 100,000 years. That lower realm practitioner hadn't even sensed much heaven and earth profound chi, so just how good of an innate talent did he have before he could become a god-grade genius? If there's really such a person, then even if it was in God realm, he would really be a peerless genius who was second to none." Sage Wu Ding hurriedly said, "Isn't that due? If there really is such a person, then Cloudy Qilin clan's position for the next 100,000 years would be secured. We cannot let him gall in the Qilin tablet." So that's why I'm here to report to the clan leader. Steward you, have you understood everything? Quickly help us, help. Yu Dezhuang stopped smiling as his expression sunk. What's wrong with you? Just because of you two old man's absurd hallucinations, I have to go report to the clan leader saying that the god-grade genius on that godforsaken soaring heavens continent is going to die soon. Who will believe this sort of nonsense? Do you really treat me like an idiot? Sage Wuding was so infuriated that he almost couldn't breathe. Yu Dezhuang scoffed. Anyway, clan leaders' closed-door cultivation absolutely cannot be interrupted, especially not by this kind of senseless joke. Both sages, please kindly return, send the guests off. Saying that, he waved his hand to dispatch 2 servant boys to dismiss them, and he shut the door to the clan leader's cave dwelling. Wait! The 2 sages wanted to chase up to him but were stopped by the guards. Based on both their abilities, defeating these guards was as easy as lifting a finger, but even if they did chase away these guards, the clan leader's residence was surrounded by various mechanisms and there were genuine top exponents watching over, so it absolutely wasn't a place where they could just run freely without any restraint. The 2 of them exchanged glances and sat on the ground in disappointment. Finished. We're all finished this time. This lower realm genius is a goner. I'm really afraid that I would sense the news of his death at the very next minute. Sage Wuding put on a miserable look. Sage Dong, however, had an astonished look. What? He actually managed to last till now and is still hanging on. From the time that you sensed him entering the Qilin tablet until now, it's already been more than 2 hours, isn't it? He could actually persist that long a time in front of the spiritual beast Qilin. You can also listen on. Hearing that, Sage Chu Ding was also stunned. If you didn't mention it, I actually didn't notice it at all. That's right, it's already well over 2 hours and this lower realm genius is actually still alright? He jumped up right from the ground. No way, I can't just let it go like that. He actually managed to stay in the Qilin tablet for such a long time. Even if Violet Sun Valley hadn't been abandoned then, no one had ever managed to do it. If this kind of genius really died, AI, that's a huge loss to our clan. The 2 of them hurriedly looked for others to help. Other than the clan leader, they also visited several grand elders. A large portion of them had the same reaction as Yu Dezhuang, totally not believing their words, feeling that the genius in their words were just too ridiculous and absolutely not possible for such a person to exist. Only a small portion of people were skeptical. It's not that I don't want to help you guys, but to influence the Qilin tablet's battle is just too tough. Even if clan leader is willing to activate the clan's teleportation array to send you guys there, there's no way for you to enter the Qilin tablet. Are we just going to let him perish on his own? Just how rare do we even come across such a genius? But, Wuding, you're not totally certain if there's really such a person, right? It's just merely a possibility. We are millions of miles apart, and if you sensed it wrongly, you've wasted a huge amount of the clan's resources, so you'd have to bear the responsibility as well. I think let's just forget about it. For the next 3 days, no one was able to help. This afternoon, the duo were chased away by Fatty Yu once again and they were disheartened. After being in the Qilin tablet for 3 days, that lower realm genius still hadn't died, so just what kind of outstanding talent did he had? Damn it! This kind of genius, could it be that he was going to be ruined just like that? Sage Wuding smashed his fist against the wall, but immediately following that, his movements halted as an extremely shocked expression appeared on his face. Heavens, such a thing actually happened. Sage Dong hurriedly asked, what's the matter? That lower realm genius. He seems in the Qilin tablet. Right after spiritual beast Qilin announced the start of the refinement, it immediately pounced towards Li Moying, not even giving him a chance to prepare himself. But Li Moying was also an established practitioner, so while they were conversing, he had already placed himself on high alert, hence he was able to enter a state of battle immediately. However, after crossing hands, Li Moying realized that the ability of the spiritual beast in front of him was simply too powerful. It was totally different from those 9th grade peak magical beasts which he had once fought in his past life. Spiritual beasts and magical beasts were different by only one word, but in terms of physique, the former had already entered a new realm. Although the Qilin tablet's Qilin's profound energy was suppressed to 9th grade peak, but its ability was much, much stronger than ordinary 9th grade peak magical beasts. The Poa, which unleashed its profound skill, the innate response and speed, as well as the mighty aura from a spiritual beast, were all a grim challenge towards Li Moying. Li Moying was beaten till he kept on retreating, as he could only maintain defense for the entire duration with no chance to strike back at all. Actually, this could not be helped. Although his innate talent in Cloudy Qilin clan was god grade and was considered outstanding. But he was after all still too young. The oldest age where practitioners could enter Violet Sun Valley was actually 30 years old and below. To God Realms practitioners whose longevity went past several 10,000s of years, not to mention 30 years old, even 300 years old was considered very young. You can also listen on. Even if Cloudy Qilin clan's practitioners entered Violet Sun Valley when they were 20 years old, they would go into closed-door cultivation for a number of years in the valley. Only after their potential reached the peak and when they had reached the age limit, then would they attempt to activate the Qilin tablet, accepting the ultimate refinement. However, Li Moying totally didn't know about these and just rushed in like that. Based on his age at 20, entering the Qilin tablet for the challenge was a fascinating thing, even in the early historical times. Of course, this also had something to do with Violet Sun Valley's insufficient profound qi. In the past, the magical beasts in Violet Sun Valley grew and multiplied without end and allowed many geniuses to cultivate simultaneously. But now, Li Moying had just spent an entire month and he nearly cleared all the magical beasts in the valley. This wasn't just because he had outstanding ability, but also because Violet Sun Valley had long lost the ability to reproduce, hence it no longer was a place for long-term closed-door cultivation for a genius like him. But in this way, he was at a complete disadvantage. Qilin's attacks were faster and faster, and the moves it made were smoother and smoother. Li Moying was extremely steady, and even though he had been struck flying over and over again as the injuries on his body became heavier and heavier, but his mind became clearer and clearer. He had been observing the Qilin's attack pattern, especially the rhythm of its body's profound chi's fluctuations. Under Qilin's swift attacks, Li Moying started to bleed non-stop, and he had even felt the meridians in his body being seriously damaged. But a smile gradually grew on the corners of his lips. Because what he guessed wasn't wrong. Spiritual beast Qilin's spiritual body, as a form of energy body, it indeed was supplied by thunder-attributed energy. As his observation deepened, he could distinctly sense that every single time Qilin struck, the path of the flow of the profound energy within its body. Li Moying's gaze turned deeper as he gathered all the profound energy within his body. He was very clear of this, that the absolute disparity between him and Qilin was simply too huge. He didn't have many opportunities and there was only this one chance. He must gather all his energy and try his best to deal Qilin with heavy damage. Amethyst Light Sword, unsheath. The bluish-purple electric currents on Amethyst Light Sword suddenly expanded, dazzling up the narrow small space in the Qilin tablet with extremely bright lights. Li Moying observed Qilin's path of attacks, and just as it charged once again, he suddenly moved and appeared right beside its body, and at the same time, used up all his energy to pierce sharply towards the Qlin's left back position. This position was something which he had observed for a very long time, spiritual beast Qilin's weakest part of its profound energy. It was also the most possible position in which he could make a breakthrough. As expected, following his attack, Qilin suddenly rose its head towards the sky as it gave out a miserable howl. Amethyst light sword pierced deeply into the Qilin's back, and Li Moying immediately felt an incomparably powerful profound energy passing through the sword blade, causing his arms to turn numb and the long sword in his arms to almost fell. He hurriedly held his breath with rapt attention as both his hands gripped onto the sword handle tightly, took in a deep breath and tried his best to plunge the amethyst light sword deeper into the spiritual beast Qilin's body. Qilin howled for a short time and started shaking its body violently, trying to shake him and the amethyst light sword away. Li Moying sensed that the pressure he was bearing increased by the minute, and the spiritual beast's profound energy came raining down on him so tightly that he couldn't even breathe. But he continued to hang on, refusing to let go no matter what. You can also listen on. Qilin kept on howling as the degree of its shaking movements got even more vigorous. Li Moying could clearly sense that after Qilin's lower back was pierced, its profound energy kept on routing out at a speed which could be seen as it followed along the sword body, leading back to its body. Initially he was impacted by the Qilin's profound energy and almost couldn't handle the pressure as he threw up blood on the spot. But after he got adjusted to it, he gradually caught the rhythm and started to direct that portion of profound energy actively. Li Moying believed that since the valley's other magical beasts' profound energy could be absorbed by him, then the spiritual beasts would naturally be able to as well. But the process would definitely be tougher than the other magical beasts. Without outstanding determination and guts, the result would not be him absorbing profound energy but ending up with his meridians being cut into pieces. Luckily Li Moying was gutsy enough and he had enough innate talent. As one of the excellent god-grade geniuses, his meridian's intensity and capacity had far surpassed ordinary practitioners. Spiritual beast Qilin's powerful and pure profound energy which was invasive poured into his body and kept on expanding. If it was any other ordinary person, their meridians would have split broken by this, but Li Moying was able to take on the first wave of attack. A sliver of joy appeared on his face. He had placed the right bet. As long as he wasn't struck down at the first moment when the profound energy entered his body, he was sure that he could use his own determination to use the Qilin's profound energy for his own use. Li Moying bore with the pain of the profound energy invading deep into his meridians as he held his breath and congealed his senses, starting to concentrate on directing the thunder-attributed profound energy in his meridians. Spiritual beast Qilin howls were getting louder and louder. Little brat of the cloudy Qilin clan, get off from my back. You dare to absorb the profound energy from me. Ever since the Qilin tablet had been constructed successfully for several 100,000 years, you're the first practitioner who dared to do so. But stop dreaming, you are not able to merge my profound energy successfully. You will explode and die. Li Moying's eyes were slightly shut as he totally ignored that Qilin which flew into a rage out of humiliation. At the present moment, he had placed all his energy into directing the profound energy into his body and had no time to be concerned about other matters, what's more about answering Qilin. He was very clear that he must devote himself entirely and not be distracted. As long as there was a single bit of hesitation, there was a possibility that he would have a chi deviation. Qilin had spoken out right now exactly because it wanted to sway his determination, to divert his attention. Qilin saw that he wasn't tricked as it continued, don't think that I'm trying to trick you. Who do you think you are? You're merely a practitioner from the lower realm and you had not received one of the 3 big inheritances from the clan, right? What cultivation method are you intending to use to direct the profound energy into your body? My profound energy impacts the meridians too much, and even with the cloudy Qilin clan's 3 big inheritances, it's impossible to neutralize it. You're forcing yourself to absorb it, so the only outcome would be the explosion of your body. Its words weren't simply an alarm. In order to absorb the intense energy, firstly intensity of the meridians was of utmost importance, and secondly, that would depend on the practitioner's grasp of cultivation methods. The higher the grade of the cultivation method, the stronger it could direct the absorption of the energy. For example, the cloudy Chilan clan's 3 big inheritances, even if it was a spiritual beast's profound energy, there were hopes of merging it with that. But that was merely a hope. Success of Noor, it would still depend on the practitioner's cultivation and innate talent. You can also listen on. Assuming that Li Moying was now a 9th stage realm practitioner, pairing with his outstanding innate talent and strong intensity of his meridians to cultivate a cloudy Chilan clan's inheritance cultivation method, then there was an 80% possibility of taking in the Chilan's energy for his own use. If he was in the 10th stage realm, he could totally absorb all the energy cleanly. However, he was merely at 7th stage realm peak now. The most important thing was, after crossing hands, spiritual beast Chilan sensed that the cultivation method which he learnt was only barely half god grade. It was considered an incredible feat in the lower realm, but among god realm's large clan, it was totally unremarkable, not to mention that it totally couldn't be compared to the big 3 inheritances cultivation method. Based on Li Moying's current conditions, although he had enough innate talent but his other conditions were rather bad, and yet he still wanted to absorb the spiritual beast Chilan's profound energy. This was simply daydreaming. Stinky brat, did you hear me or did you not? Quickly scram off me. Chilan clamored loudly. However, Li Moying remained silent. Of course he knew that he was taking a huge risk by doing so, and if he wasn't careful, surely he would be consigned to eternal damnation. But he had no other choice. Moreover, his instinct told him that he would definitely be able to do it. He only used a breath's time to discover that the cultivation method he was mastering could not handle the current situation, and there was no possibility of directing these profound energy. If it were other people, they would have already become despondent, but Li Moying hung on as he clenched his teeth. Since the cultivation method was of no use, then, he would base on his own understanding to absorb these profound energy. Time passed by slowly, and under his highly concentrated great effort, the violent profound energy really settled down slowly, as it went past his meridians, slowly combining with his body's profound energy, flowing into his dantian. Chilan shook his body for a long time but was still unable to throw the man down, so it decided to stop wasting its breath. Anyway, this fellow was looking for death, so his body exploding was just an instantaneous matter. A god-grade genius trying to show off, so if he was full to the point of bursting, it was his own problem. However, after a moment, Chilan realized in astonishment that Li Moying was actually all right. After a long time later, it discovered again that Li Moying was actually really absorbing its profound energy, and the speed of it was getting faster and faster. What? How could this be possible? This little fellow is still not dead. He absorbed so much profound energy. Could it be that he had really successfully merged with my profound energy? How could it be possible? That cultivation method which he was mastering obviously was a trashy thing in God Realm streets. How could he possibly be that incredible? Or perhaps, he didn't use his cultivation method, but based on his own understanding to complete the merging process. When the second idea popped out, it made Chilan's heart jump with shock. This shouldn't be possible, right? If it was true, then the power of understanding of this handsome younger junior in front of him was simply shocking. Even in God Realm, it had never met with such an abnormal genius with such strong power of understanding. Right, not possible, this was impossible. But other than that, there was no other way to explain how the profound energy was merged successfully. Just as Chilan was in extreme shock, it suddenly sensed a burst of violent profound energy fluctuation emitting from its back, as it started to radiate swift towards the surroundings. The surrounding thunder attributed energy were raging up by the minute, as though it was going to burst the Chilan. Chilan's eyes widened incredulously. Surely not. This little fellow is actually going to advance, now. You can also listen on. At this moment, Li Moying only felt as though his body was soaked in boiling water as extreme pure profound energy surged inwards, repeatedly crashing against his dantian. This sensation was something that he wasn't unfamiliar with. Advancement was right in front of him. He was originally at 7th stage realm peak, just one step away from 8th stage realm, and right now under the provocative Qilin's profound energy, he was unstoppable, and very soon, he broke through to the last boundary. His surrounding aura rose up faster and faster. Finally, amid a burst of piercing ray, he successfully advanced into the 8th stage realm. Spiritual beast Qilin was simply shocked beyond words. Seriously? Does it need to be that exaggerated? Based on this young fellow's bone age, he's just merely 20 over years old. An 8th stage realm at 20 years old, even in God realm, he's also considered as a top-rated genius. Furthermore, that would require the clan's heavily invested resources before they were able to do it. This fellow, just as Qilin was in a daze, Li Moying had speedily readjusted his condition. He had been on the verge of advancement for several days now, and as he had been accumulating everything for quite some time, so this time round, success followed naturally when all the conditions had been fulfilled. After advancement, he immediately entered a battling posture as the amethyst light sword in his hand shone even brighter than before. The speed of the absorption of profound energy also became faster. Qilin was completely angered as the scales on its back all started to give off blaring electric currents. At the same time, Li Moying also discovered that the profound energy which he could absorb had already reached the limit, and if he continued on, his meridians weren't able to accommodate it at all. With no choice, he could only choose to give up. A burst of electricity flashed past his hand, and following the amethyst light sword blade, it shot into the lower back of the spiritual beast Qilin. You little fellow. Despicable. Qilin had totally not expected Li Moying to reverse the flow of the profound energy, so it tried its best to take back its profound energy, but as it was caught unaware, the two profound energies layered onto each other, and instantly it suffered an intense backlash as the profound energy shot right to its heart, sending it flying. Furthermore, it spat out a blue-colored fluid in mid-air. This was formed from Qilin's profound energy, and once it got in contact with air, it dissipated into thunder-attributed energy. But its action meant that it had already suffered a heavy injury, which was no different from spitting out blood. Qilin was heavily injured by Li Moying, but he himself wasn't in any great shape either. As the spiritual beast's potential was just too powerful, he didn't dare to show any mercy as he used up all his power to strike back. All of the profound energy which he had absorbed during advancement was thoroughly exhausted. Earlier, when he was merging with Qilin's profound energy, his meridians were already hurt, and right now, he was totally depleted of his energy, and his body instantly felt as though he had been emptied. Li Moying's complexion turned extremely pale, and his sword blade pointed downwards, piercing onto the ground. On the other side, spiritual beast Qilin sprawled onto the ground as it panted heavily, as though it totally couldn't climb up anymore. Every breath it took, it would spray out blue-colored energy mass. Evidently it was injured very seriously. But it was still alive. Li Moying had not forgotten his own mission. It wasn't to defeat spiritual beast Qilin, but to kill it. If it was just to defeat the other party, then the victory was already clear and he could be considered to pass the stage. But now the aim was to kill. Earlier he had used 90% of his profound energy and had gained an unexpected huge advantage, which was why he dealt the Qilin with such a heavy injury, but that blow was unable to kill it. However, Qilin was heavily injured now, and he still gained the absolute advantage. Li Moying silently thought quickly, but at the next moment, his eyes turned wide with shock. You can also listen on. In the other corner, spiritual beast Qilin laid on the ground, totally not moving. But not knowing when, suddenly specks of blue light surrounded the Qilin. Those light spots were very weak and sparse initially, but in an extremely short span of time, it grew concentrated and became brighter and brighter. Li Moying's expression changed. No good, this is. Before he could react these light spots had formed into a cluster and were absorbed by the spiritual beast Qilin immediately. Immediately following that, the wounds on Qilin's body started to heal, and not long after, it climbed up from the ground and stared at Li Moying with its shining eyes. Its tall and robust body looked like a little hill filled with intense might. Evidently, it had already recovered back to its normal state. Damn! Even for someone who was as calm as Li Moying, he helplessly hurled out a vulgarity. Did it need to play around with him like that? Is this spiritual beast an undead? Even with such a heavy injury, it could instantly restore itself, then what's there to continue fighting? What's called killing the Qilin and they would be able to pass the stage? Is this really something that can be achieved by a human? All the efforts which Li Moying had put his hard work into had all turned to naught, and he was extremely upset over it. But he didn't have any time to ponder over it, as a bitter cold glow flashed past spiritual beast Qilin's eyes and it immediately charged towards him. This time round, although Qilin's attack was roughly the same as the last time round, but Li Moying sensitively noticed that Qilin's power had dropped slightly. It could only utilize around 90% of its total power earlier. It meant that his attack earlier wasn't totally ineffective. If he could repeat that kind of strong intensity attack around 10 times or above, there was a possibility of wearing this Qilin down. But Li Moying had no energy to complete this for the second time. The profound energy within him had turned totally void, as the consumption used was far more than spiritual beast Qilin, and it was getting obvious on who was stronger and weaker. Not long after, Li Moying was riddled with heavy injuries on his entire body, and he wasn't able to continue holding on. "Young fellow, you're still not giving up?" Qilin's voice reverberated around the tablet. Li Moying clenched his teeth tightly. He indeed wasn't willing to give up. As long as there was a sliver of hope, he wanted to persist till the very end without any regrets. But at this instant, his mind flashed an image of Huang Yueli's sweet smile. That delicate and adorable young lass was still waiting for him to leave this place. He could not afford to die right here. "All right, I admit defeat." Li Moying hissed these few words out of the slits of his teeth. With that out, he heaved a sigh of relief. He was no longer unresigned about giving up, because making such a decision for his Lear, it was worth it. Li Moying shut his eyes and waited to be transported out. The thought of being able to see Lear immediately made his lips curled up into a smile. He wondered if the young lass had been anxiously waiting for him. Him suddenly being transported into the Qilin tablet should have shocked her badly. No, she probably hadn't been shocked. After all, his little fox was a peerless armament master who had plenty of knowledge in these than him. Li Moying waited for a while, but the expected darkness did not arrive. On the contrary, the lightning flashes and spiritual beast Qilin's attacks had not stopped. A bolt of lightning shot towards his chest. Li Moying hurriedly opened his eyes to evade hastily, and at the very last moment, that mighty electric bolt brushed past him. He broke out into cold sweat in shock and asked in alarm, "What's going on? Haven't I already admitted defeat? Why can't I leave this place?" Qilin's voice rang. "Transportation failed. Qilin tablet's refinement shall continue. You can also listen on." What? Li Moying didn't believe his own ears. Wait. Haven't I already given up? Qilin continued to attack him continuously. Li Moying had already planned to admit defeat, but was forced to defend himself right now as he was surrounded by perils. Spiritual beast Qilin spoke as it attacked, "But you have not been transported out of the Qilin tablet, isn't it? That means that the refinement shall continue." Li Moying totally couldn't accept this kind of result. "Wait, earlier you said if I simply cannot pass through the refinement, then I can automatically choose to give up, and now I've already admitted defeat. Why are you still forcing me to continue? Haven't I already said the reason? Because you're not transported out of here. What do you mean? Li Moying frowned. My spiritual body is blocked by the Qilin tablet and I must follow the old clan leader's series of regulations which he had set when he refined the Qilin tablet. Once the refinement starts, there is no way to end it, unless you're transported out. Another dazzling lightning descended from the sky and under the lead from the spiritual beast Qilin, it gathered into a piece of bright screen, casting out towards Li Moying. Li Moying was originally heavily injured and his speed and defense had dropped by a huge notch. Right now, although he tried his best to evade it, but he was still struck. He was sent flying as he crashed onto the wall in the Qilin tablet and blood started to trickle down from the corner of his lips. Damn it! What on earth is going on? Haven't I already given up? Why can't I leave this place? He clenched his teeth and shouted loudly 3 times, I give up. I give up. I give up. Let me out. But there were no changes in the surroundings at all. Qilin tablet remained motionless as though it wasn't a piece of mechanism profound armament but just an ordinary room. Stop struggling, it should be because the heaven and earth profound chi in soaring heaven's continent is just too low and Qilin tablet didn't get sufficient energy hence leading to the failure in transportation. Li Moying raised his head up, since that's the case, this is the Qilin tablet's problem. I want to give up the refinement so stop chasing after me. I have to find a way to go out. Qilin walked nearer to him slowly and the electric aura from its body became stronger and stronger. The injuries on its body kept on healing with the help of the Qilin tablet's array. Right at this moment, as time went by, the heavy injury which Li Moying had casted upon it had mostly healed up. This made Li Moying even sure that his hope of victory was vague. Unless there was a way to kill it in one strike, otherwise this Qilin in the Qilin tablet was almost invincible. Qilin's voice appeared to be cold and emotionless, since you're still in the Qilin tablet, if I don't attack you, I'd suffer from suppression and torture. So I will not stop, be prepared. With that, earth-shattering electric currents attacked from all areas, enveloping Li Moying within. Li Moying persisted on as the spirit was willing but the flesh was weak and the injuries he incurred were getting heavier and heavier. In the end, his consciousness started to become blurry. Violet Sun Valley, outside Qilin tablet. Huang Yueli hugged her knees as she sat under a big tree right in front of the Qilin tablet as she gazed at the stone tablet from afar, with little Qilin lazing around her feet. Ever since the day when Li Moying used his blood to activate this huge stone tablet, he vanished instantly. Huang Yueli had encountered similar experiences before so she wasn't too surprised, knowing that Li Moying had definitely been sucked into the stone tablet. You can also listen on. For Li Moying, it was a rare chance. This was a once-in-a-blue-moon chance and even casually thinking about it and she knew that there must be an absolutely secretive inheritance hiding inside the stone tablet. If Li Moying was able to get this inheritance, by the time he came out, his ability would have a huge improvement. Moreover, perhaps with this inheritance, this lifetime he would be able to surpass that door which he had been unable to surpass in his past life, 10th stage realm. Thinking of these, Huang Yueli was feeling excited for her own fiancé as she happily sat down beside the stone tablet as she meditated and cultivated while waiting for him to appear. Based on her experience in the Sacred Phoenix Race's Inheritance Tower, to obtain the clan's recognition and to get the best inheritance, they must pass through various assessments and the time spent on it was absolutely not short. Hence from the start, she wasn't too worried. Every day she would tease the little Qilin and then enter the Sky Phoenix ring to tease little Phoenix and after that cultivate a little. Other than the thunder-attributed energy in the atmosphere which was a little too strong which made her uncomfortable, all other conditions went along rather smoothly. However, on the 3rd day after Li Moying entered the stone tablet, the sky suddenly flashed as a bolt of lightning struck the top of the stone tablet. That bolt of lightning was extremely bright and very thick. When it landed, strong thunder attributed energy charred all the surrounding trees. Although Huang Yueli managed to evade in time, but she was still sent flying as her face was smeared with dust and dirt. The stone tablet's color turned purple, interconnecting with the lightning as the electric currents in the air kept on being absorbed into it. What situation is this? What on earth happened inside the stone tablet? Huang Yueli saw this and instinctively felt that things were not right as she started to feel worried. Even though she knew that Li Moying's ability, innate talent and his response were all not lacking. He was a genuine peerless genius with the ability to adjust to various different changes in situations and was definitely much stronger than her. But Huang Yueli's heart was still unsettled as an ominous feeling crept up in her heart. No, surely not right. Nothing must happen to you. Even I am able to pass the sacred phoenix race's inheritance. Moying is so powerful, so there's definitely no problem. She repeatedly reassured herself, but not knowing why, that flustered feeling in her heart did not disappear. On the contrary, it became more and more serious. Huang Yueli kept on pacing up and down nearby. 1 minute ago she was on the east side, next minute she was at the west. Little Phoenix was in the sky Phoenix ring and sensed her flustered feelings as he took a dig at her. I say, female demon, what are you worried about? As the saying goes, good people do not live long while scourge stays for thousands of years. Your family's big demon lord is a badass who bullies those small animals, so he will absolutely live on well, alright. What are you afraid of? Moreover, speaking, from the way that these electric currents energy are gathering, perhaps, Big Demon Lord is just advancing. Even though Little Phoenix was whining and his tone wasn't good at all, but Huang Yueli somewhat felt a little comforted. Hope this is so. Luckily the situation of the lightning striking the stone tablet maintained for around 1 hour and finally stopped. The huge stone in Huang Yueli's heart finally dropped when she saw little Qilin, which had been sitting by her feet, suddenly leap upwards, pouncing towards the direction of the Qilin tablet. Aw aw aw. Aw 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 aw. Its little claw threaded in disarray as it kept clawing at the stone tablet with its might, but unfortunately, it only left a slight mark. Not only that, it moved its head with huge movements and the scales on its body were almost all poking out. Anyone could tell that it was anxious to the max right now. You can also listen on. Huang Yueli immediately pounced over, wanting to lift it up. But before she had even touched little Qilin's body, this little thing's head twisted to one side as it landed onto the ground. Huang Yueli's heart fell into the depths of the abyss as a bad premonition surfaced in her heart. A contracted magical beast like little Qilin not only were linked in their minds and thoughts with its master, but were also connected in life and death. Now little Qilin turned out into such an abnormal state for no rhyme or reason and later on just fainted. This meant that Li Moying had met with an extremely grave crisis in the stone tablet. Furthermore, there was a possibility that something had happened to him. But this was merely a refinement. Li Moying's innate talent was so high and his battle experience was so rich, so what was it that he couldn't possibly deal with? Huang Yueli didn't want to believe that something had happened to him, but the truth was placed right in front of her eyes. Even little Qilin had fallen, so Li Moying's situation shouldn't be any better. Huang Yueli's feelings were heavy as she slowly squatted down, placing little Qilin onto her knee and touching its chest. Luckily, it was still breathing. This little thing had merely fainted and not died on the spot. Huang Yueli rested her heart slightly because this at least meant that Li Moying was still alive. But little Qilin was struggling on whilst at death's door, and this again represented that he was just one step away from death. How could this be possible? Huang Yueli hugged little Qilin tightly as she bit her lips, praying repeatedly. Li Moying, nothing can happen to you. No matter how big the waves are in the past, you've braved it all, so how could you possibly die in the middle of a refinement? Moreover speaking, you said you'd marry me. Are you thinking of abandoning me when we just got started? Stop dreaming. God realm. Heaven. Heavens, how could such a thing happen? That lower realm genius. He seems, Sage Wu Ding's eyes widened. Sage Dong inquired hastily, seems like that. What on earth happened? Sage Wu Ding frowned. I'm not entirely clear on what happened, but for an instance, I seem to have felt a huge amount of energy gathering in the Qilin tablet, and I wonder if it was my misperception. If not, wouldn't it be a little too strange? What's strange? This kind of profound energy fluctuation, if it was real. Then wouldn't it represent that the lower realm genius had advanced in the Qilin tablet? Sage Dong replied disapprovingly, I thought what was the matter? Just this, is it worth it for you to make a fuss out of it? Practitioners with outstanding innate talents suddenly breaking through the bottlenecks and advance while in the middle of a battle is originally a very common matter, isn't it? Sigh, you know nothing. Sage Wu Ding explained, the huge amount of energy in the Qilin tablet is completely controlled by the sealed Qilin spiritual body. Logically, whether refinement practitioners would not be able to absorb that much energy, to the point of advancing. To have such a matter happening only meant that the lower realm genius had heavily injured the spiritual beast and Qilin is unable to control the profound qi in the tablet, hence he got the chance to advance. What? In this case, Sage Dong's eyes lit up. Could it be that the lower realm genius really could kill the Qilin, to become the first person to pass the Qilin tablet's refinement? That's hard to say, Sage Chu Ding muttered, but no matter what, his innate talent is much stronger than what I had imagined at the beginning. You can also listen on. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.